Hello everyone, it's Teresa Becker again with Virtual Get Crafty. Today we are tatting once again. Mondays is tatting day while we're staying home from the coronavirus. Last week, tatting is lace making, and last week I showed you how to make a temporary shuttle. If you don't have one, you can practice just by cutting out of a plastic lid a shape that looks like this with two holes punched in it. Once you get the holes punched in, you're going to cut just a real narrow line up here. That's how we're going to put our thread on. You can see it down there at the bottom. So here's one that I put thread on, and this is just crochet thread, and you just wrap it around and around till it's on there. You can use this as a temporary shuttle until you decide if you like to tat. If you do, then I would recommend buying some tatting shuttles. They look like this or like this. I don't usually tat with the one with the crochet hook on the end because I tend to get that stuck, or I have in the past. So I like these better. But I do use this one all the time to pull my threads through picots when I'm joining things together. So it comes in handy, and I do use it a lot. So last week I showed you how to make rings and chains. There's a ring, there's a chain. I'm going to go over those steps really quick, just as a refresher. If you're new, you can watch the one from last week to see how to do this. It will take you a while, a lot of practice to be able to do it consistently and evenly. Don't give up, because once you can make chains and rings, you can go a lot of different places. So I'm going to review chains and rings really quick. Then today I'm going to show you how to make picots, and then how to join things together with a picot. And then really quick, I'm going to show you how to make, this is a very simple butterfly. I'm going to show you how to make that. You could use this as an earring, buy some jewelry findings and put this on here, and you could have a butterfly earring. And that's just made with 4 rings with picots on it. No joining. You just do the rings in order and it will come out like this. And then I'm going to show you how to make this little flower, which I made into an earring. I did put a bead in the center, but you don't have to. And this has decorative picots. And it also has some picots that are joined so that my rings are joined together. It's hard to see here, but you can see those are kind of attached, whereas these rings are not. So let's get started. So last week I told you there's chains and rings. Here's a chain, here's a ring. I'm going to do another chain. When you're doing chains, you need 2 sources of thread. So I'm using, we'll call this a ball of thread, which can be a ball of thread. It can just be coming off your ball. And a shuttle. So when you're doing chains, you're going to put your thread over the back of your hand. I go in between my ring finger and my pinky finger and then wrap it around my pinky. I'm going to be working right here. Hi, Chris. My sister's watching. I believe she's in Vietnam. I'm going to be working right here in between my index finger and my middle finger. And I want to keep this kind of tight as I work. I hold my shuttle about halfway, 2/3 back. Usually I either hold it with my thumb and my finger or my thumb and my 2 fingers. And I taught you last time to do a scoop for the first half of the double stitch, where you turn your hand over, wrap the thread over the back of your hand so that this red string is above where we're going to be working. When it's like that, you're going to go put your shuttle under this white thread. Just skim the thread between your finger and the shuttle. Once you get it the shuttle all the way past the white thread, you're going to pull it back, but this time we're going to go over the white thread, and we're going to pull that white thread between the bottom of the shuttle and my thumb. And as I come through, I want the shuttle to go through the ring of thread that I'm holding up. Now, right now, the shuttle thread, the red thread, is wrapped around the white one, but we want it opposite of that. We want the white thread wrapped around the shuttle thread. And to do that, I'm going to loosen my fingers here and pull my shuttle thread tight. And you can watch it change. Now you can see the white thread is wrapped around the red thread. So now I'm going to keep tension on the shuttle thread, the red thread, and I'm going to slowly open up my fingers and pull this little knot that I have there down to where my finger and my thumb is. And I'm going to put my thumb, pinch it in between my finger and thumb. That's the first half of the double stitch. The second half, we're going to let this thread hang down. Remember, the first half we put it over the back of our hand so it was up above this. Now it's going to be below. Since it's hanging down below, we're going to put our shuttle over the top of this white thread first. So we're going to go between the shuttle and my thumb, just skim that thread through. Now that I've gotten past the white thread, I'm going to go underneath it and pull that white thread between my fingers on the top of it and the shuttle. As I'm coming back through, I want to make sure I'm going through this loop, which I did. Once again, if I get it off my finger, the shuttle thread is wrapped around the white one. We want it opposite of that, so I'm going to loosen the white thread. See how loose it is now? And I'm going to pull this red or shuttle thread tight, which flips it, so now the white thread is around the red thread. And I'm going to slowly open up my fingers to tighten that little loop there, right up next to the last stitch that I did. So there is, let's see if I can get it up by the camera. There is a double stitch. It has a vertical stitch going across the top, a vertical piece of thread going across the top, and a horizontal piece going across the top, and 2 vertical pieces coming down. It reminds me of a pi symbol in math, if you can remember what those look like. So that is one double stitch. I'm going to do 6 of those. So there's 1. Now let me do some more. This is 2, 3, 4. And see how I pull this tight and then open that up. That's 4. Holding it up, going underneath, back through that loop, pulling it tight, opening it up. And you can see that as I do that, it just works its way right down there. So that's the first half. Here's the second half. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and one more. I'm going to hold it up, go underneath, pull back over and through that loop, pull it tight, open up my fingers, and there we are. 6 double stitches. The way I count them is I count the horizontal piece to count my stitches. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the last one way over there, 6. Oh, I didn't finish the last one. I only did the first half of it. Let me do the second half. Okay, so there's my double stitches. If I did them correctly, I can loosely hold the stitches that I just made and pull the shuttle thread, and they should slip back towards where this ring was. Okay, so I did a chain of 6 double stitches. Now I'm going to change and do a ring. I don't know how many stitches I did on this ring. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think I did 9 stitches. So now I'm going to switch and I'm going to do a ring with 9 stitches. So I'm going to, when I was working on it, I was working on it this way. I'm going to flip it over and do my rings with the chain underneath. It's called reversing your work. So when we're doing a ring, instead of putting it around the back of my hand and wrapping it around my little finger and just having a line, I'm going to actually go all the way around my hand and make a ring. So you can see I started here, went over the back of my hand, came around, and I'm pinching it right up together. So let me get that all going. And once again, we're going to be doing double stitches, and we're going to do it right here. You're not going to see a color change, but I want this thread that's on my left hand to be around the shuttle thread to make the ring. So the first half of my double stitch, I'm going to hold the thread up on the back of my hand. I'm going to go underneath, skim it my finger, skim the thread in between my finger and shuttle, pull it back between the shuttle and my thumb and through this ring. Now the shuttle thread is wrapped around the thread on my other hand, but I want it opposite of that, so I'm going to loosen the ring by closing up my hand, pulling the shuttle thread tight, and did you see it flip? And then as I open up my fingers, I'm going to try to pull this little ring, and I have to keep the shuttle thread tight. I'm going to pull this ring down towards my thumb and finger, and when I get it all the way down there, I'm going to pinch it. First half of the double stitch, second half of the double stitch, I'm going to let this thread hang down. Since it's hanging down, I'm going to go over this thread first, so between the bottom of the shuttle and my thumb, go down underneath it and pull the shuttle back so that this thread is going between the top of the shuttle and my finger. Did you see that? Through that ring that's hanging down. Now the shuttle thread is wrapped around this thread. I want it opposite, so I'm going to loosen my ring. I'm going to pull the shuttle thread tight, and I'm going to keep that tight as I slowly open my hand back up to work that stitch down and be pinched by my finger. I have done one double stitch. So I think I said I was going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I'm going to do 9 of them. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and every once in a while I'll adjust my fingers because it starts getting working too far along. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, as you're doing your stitches, your ring is going to get smaller and smaller. If you need more room in your ring, you're going to grab it where you started, where your first stitch is, lightly hold your stitches and pull. It's going to make the thread of your shuttle shorter, but it makes your ring bigger. So let me do that again. I'm just trying to see how I can do this so you can see it. I'm just going to hold that lightly and pull this bottom, not where the shuttle's coming out from, but down below on the ring. I'm just going to pull that. You can see my shuttle get shorter and my ring get bigger. Okay. Then if you need more thread, you just undo your shuttle to give you more space to work on. So I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to do 6, 7, 8, 9. First half, second half. Now I have 9 stitches on my ring. So I'm going to hold the end, the last stitches that I did, and I'm going to pull the shuttle thread. I'm just going to hold it lightly so that the shuttle thread can slip through all of these stitches. So watch the ring get smaller as I pull. And I keep pulling. There, you can see how small the ring is now. I'm going to keep pulling it till the first stitch and the end stitch meet. So I'm going to hold it and pull, and there we go. There's our ring. Ta-da! Now I have 2 rings and some chains. If I was going to go and do more chains, I would reverse my work. Basically, I would be flipping it over so the ring is hanging down and the chains are on the top. I'm going to wrap the white thread around the back of my hand and around my little finger so I can keep it tight. I kind of curl my finger up to hold it so it's tight. And then I'm going to do my double stitches on the white thread. And remember, we want the white thread to wrap around the shuttle thread. So let's do it again. We're going to scoop, hold that up, go underneath, all the way through, come back over the top of it and through the ring. I'm going to loosen this hand so that this is loose. I'm going to pull the shuttle thread tight, and as I open up my hand, I'm going to pull that stitch way down where I am working. Now I want that stitch to be in as close as I can get it to the last stitch, the last chain stitch that I did. Okay, so I got it in there. I'm kind of pinching it and holding it. Now I'm going to do the second half of the stitch. So I'm going to let this hang down. I'm going to go over the top of the white thread with the bottom of the shuttle, go in between the bottom of the shuttle and my thumb. Once I get the shuttle all the way past that white thread, I'm going to go underneath it, pull that white thread between the top of the shuttle and my finger, and make sure I am coming back through the center of that thread hanging down. The red thread is wrapped around the white. I'm going to relax these fingers. I'm going to pull this tight. That stitch flip, the white thread is now wrapped around the red thread, so I can open up my fingers and work it down. That is one double stitch. Now I'm going to do it again. I'm going to hold that up, go underneath, over and through, loosen the white thread, tighten the red thread, and then pull that down and tighten up that stitch. That's the first half. Second half, the red thread is hanging down. I'm going to go over the white thread, under the white thread, through the loop hanging down. The red thread is wrapped around the white one. I'm going to loosen the tension on the white thread by closing up my fingers. Pull the red thread tight, which will let that stitch flip. Keeping the red thread tight, opening up my other hand to move that stitch down. One more double stitch down. I'm going to do a couple more. Let's see, I think I did 6, so 4 more. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I should be able to hold them loosely and pull the shuttle thread, and I can feel them slip, so I did that correctly. And there is 2 rings and 3 chains. This chain's longer than the other ones, but that's okay. So that's how you do the double stitch. Now I'm going to do another ring, but I'm going to show you how to make what is known as a picot. A picot can be a decorative element of your tatting, like the bumps on the end of these rings, or it can be used to connect things together, like these rings are all connected at a picot. So let me show you how to do a picot, and then we'll make the butterfly. So I'm going to open up, because I'm doing a ring again, and I flipped when we were working on the chain was up and the rings were down. I'm going to reverse my work. So now the rings are up and my chain is down, and I can wrap it around my hand. Okay. So this time I'm going to do 5 double stitches. Then I'm going to do a picot, and then I'm going to do 5 more double stitches. So here's 1, pull it down as close as I can get it to the last stitch that I did. First half, second half, 1, 2, over the top, under and through the ring, tighten the shuttle thread, loosen my other hand, slowly open it up. If you want to make sure you are flipping your stitch correctly, you should be able to hold on to your stitches lightly, pull your shuttle thread, and your ring should get smaller. Or if your ring is too small, grab it down here by your thumb, pull it, the shuttle thread should get shorter, this thread should get shorter, and your ring should get bigger. As long as you flipped your stitches correctly, you should be able to make that sliding movement and adjust the size of your ring. So we did 2, here we are going up, under, over, and through, over, under, and through. There's 3, over, or I'm holding the thread up, so I'm going to go under, over, and through. I'm going to let it hang down. I'm going to go over, under, and through. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to do one more, and then I'm going to do a picot. Oh, okay. So there's 5 stitches. To do a picot, you're going to do, let me do this again since my camera stopped. Okay. To do a picot, we're going to do the first half of the double stitch. So we're going to lift that up. We're going to go under, over, and through. We're going to flip the stitch. Now, as I'm pulling this stitch closer to my last one, I'm going to leave a space. My shuttle thread is still tight. You can see that there is a space. Here's my last stitch. There's a space between that one and this one. I'm going to move my fingers so that I'm holding that stitch far away from the last stitches that I did. I'm going to finish the second half of the double stitch. So you can see I have, maybe you can see, I have my stitches over here, and then I have another stitch. There's the end of my first stitches. Then I have a space and my next double stitch. See how far apart they are? To make the picot, I'm going to push this last double stitch next to the other ones. And that makes your picot. And there it is, just a little bump. So I'm gonna continue on and do 4 more stitches. The stitch that we made to complete the picot, that double stitch, is counted as the first stitch of the next bunch. So there's 1. I'm going to do 5 more. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so on my thread I have 5 double stitches, a picot, and 5 more double stitches. So 5 picot 5. I'm going to hold on to the last stitches that I made lightly, take the ring off my fingers, pull the shuttle thread to close up that ring, and there is a ring with a picot. You can see the difference between the ring with no picot and the ring with the picot. There's our picot right there. Okay, so that's chains and rings. Now let's make a butterfly. It is made with 4 rings right next to each other. So hopefully I have enough thread on this shuttle. Oh, maybe not. Okay, let's do it with, I'll show you how to wind a shuttle. I don't think there's enough thread on this, so we're going to put some white thread on it. When I wind my shuttles, I turn it so that if you look at this shuttle, it has a pointy end. The point goes up. That's the top of the shuttle, the front of the shuttle, the back of the shuttle, and the bottom of the shuttle. I turn it, and there's a little hole there in the middle of the shuttle. I'm going to put my thread through that hole. And to make sure that I'm winding it on the way I want, I turn the shuttle so that the back of the shuttle, this part, is facing me. I go from the right to the left and thread my thread through that little hole. This is thick thread. It doesn't want to go through. Oh, there we go. Put it through that little hole in the center. Then I'm just going to pinch it right here near the edge so that I don't pull it out. And I'm going to wrap this clockwise around my shuttle. And you can hear it click. Whoops. Keep wrapping it. Sometimes I'll turn it around the other way just so that it winds it all up and down throughout this. You can see it's getting full on one edge. Over here it's piling up, and there's not as much on this side. So I'll go this way for a while, and then I'll turn it around so that I can wind the other one. So that I can fill up this side now. If I don't drop it. Okay. Windy, windy, windy. Now, when the libraries reopen, I do tatting classes at both Holloway Gonzales and Northeast. If my classes don't work for you, let me know. I can try to plan some other time so you can come and watch. Okay, there's my shuttle. This butterfly is a very simple pattern. It's 2 bigger rings that have 7 double stitches, a small picot, 2 double stitches, a bigger picot, 2 more double stitches, a small picot, and then 7 stitches again. So I'm going to start, since I'm doing rings, I'm going to wrap it all the way around my hand. I usually like, I don't know, how many inches is that? About that much space. 6 inches maybe. Of string coming off my shuttle. I like the thread coming off the shuttle away from me if I'm holding my shuttle like this, because then it just doesn't get in my way. So I'm going to do 7 double stitches, scoop, hold it up, under, over, and through, There's my first stitch. Let it hang down, over, under, and through. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, there's my 7 double stitches. You can see how much smaller my ring is, so I'm going to make my ring bigger, and I'm going to do my first picot. So there's my double stitches. I'm going to do my next first half of the double stitch. I'm going to pull it down, but I'm going to leave maybe about a 1/4 inch of space. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, that was the first half of the double stitch. I'm going to do the second half of the double stitch. There you can see the space in between. I'm going to push them together, and there's my picot. Okay, there's 1. Now I need to do 2 stitches. So that first stitch we did to make that picot, well, the second stitch, the last stitch we did, counts as 1. I'm going to do the second stitch. There's 2. So I did 7 picot, 2. Now I'm going to do a long picot. And I'm going to make this one about twice as big as the last one that I made. See how big that is? So there's the first half of the stitch, the second half of the stitch, and you can see my picot is much bigger. There's 1, I need 2 double stitches. There we go. And now I'm going to do another smaller stitch. So I'm showing it to you upside down just because that's easier to turn my hand over that way. So now I'm going to do another small picot. I'm pretty good at judging distances, but there is a tool called a picot gauge, and you can get one of those to make sure your picots are the same size if you want to make sure. You can also give them a little pull to make them more even. There is my 7 double stitches, a picot, 2 double stitches, a picot, 2 double stitches, a picot. Now I'm going to do 7 more double stitches and then close my ring. So 1 is already done, 2, 3, 4, 5. My ring's getting small. I got to make it bigger. So I'm going to hold where I first started, pull that ring down. I'm pulling right by my thumb and pulling it down, and it doesn't want to go. Things are getting all twisted up. It should go just fine. Uh-oh, what did I do? If your ring doesn't slide, that means one of your stitches isn't done correctly. Trying to figure out where it is. I think it's this one is a little stuck. Come on. There we go. See, I even have trouble with my stitches from time to time. Yeah, something's not right. 1, 2, I was going too fast. And I see where it is. So I'm going to take some stitches out. Happens all the time. Let me tell you, you get good at undoing knots if you learn to tat. So don't get frustrated. As you see, I've been tatting for quite a few years now, I still make mistakes and have to pull them out. It's no fun, but you got to get it to work right. Okay, here's my mistake, I think. Go a little bit further. There's the mistake. Okay, let's see. There we go. 1, 2. There we go. Now we're sliding. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll go slower. My thread's twisting. If my thread gets twisted, I just let my shuttle hang so that it stops twisting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so I have on this 7 double stitches, a picot, 2 double stitches, a long picot, 2 double stitches, another picot, and then 7 more stitches. I'm going to hold it where my last stitch was, pull my shuttle thread to close my loop or my ring, give it a good tug to make sure it's nice and tight, and there is the beginning of my butterfly. Now so we've just done this ring. Now we're going to do this ring, and it's just 6 double stitches, a picot, and then 6 more double stitches. So I'm going to hold it right where I finished my last stitch, make my ring around my hand. Let's see. So the thread from my shuttle goes towards the end of my finger. I'm going to hold it with my thumb and my index finger. 1. And I want this stitch to be as tight as I can get it next to the last ring. Second half of the stitch, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now you probably saw me pull my little finger out because my ring was getting smaller, and that just gave me a little bit more room to work. Now that I finished my 6 stitches, I'm going to make my ring bigger and see, then I can put my little finger back in there. So I did 6 double stitches. Now I'm going to do a picot. So I'm going to do this double stitch further away from my last one, right about there. Put my finger and thumb on it. Do the second half of the double stitch. There it is. This is the first stitch on the next 6. And when I push it together, it makes the picot. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so there's my 6 stitches, picot, 6 more stitches. I'm going to hold it right near the end of the last stitch I did. And usually I kind of put my other fingers on all the stitches that I did just to keep them so they don't flip over and turn around and get all squirrely. Pull the shuttle thread tight. The ring gets smaller and smaller until it's gone. Pull it nice and tight. There is the first half of my butterfly. There we go. Now my next ring that we're going to do. We did this one and this one. We're going to do this one. It is the same as the last one we just did. So I'm going to get this little tail out of my way. I'm going to pinch it right near the end of the last ring. Go around my hand, making the ring around my hand. I'm going to do 6 double stitches, a picot, and then 6 more double stitches. So 1, and I want to get that in really tight next to the last ring that I did. 1, 2, 3, 4. Trying to go slow so you can kind of see what I'm doing. 5, 6. Okay, now we're going to do the picot, so I'm going to do this stitch down further and leave a space between the last double stitch and this one. Leave a space. See, there's my space. I don't know if you can see that. Do the second half of the picot, and that is the first stitch of the next 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now you notice my ring is getting really small. I could make it bigger so it's easier to work, but I know I'm going to be closing it up. So if I've only got 1 or 2 more stitches, I just try to do it small. Okay, there is this. I started here. I did 6 double stitches. I did a picot. Doesn't look quite as big as the other one, but you can pull them out a little bit and make them a little bit bigger. There we go. Picot, 6 double stitches. Now I'm going to close it up all the way. There we go. So I have, get rid of that. I have the first ring I did, the second ring I did, and the last ring I did. We are almost done with our butterfly. Now I need to do the same ring as I did on the first one. So it's going to be 7 double stitches, picot, 2 double stitches, long picot, 2 double stitches, picot, 7 stitches. So we're going to start it right near the end, whoops, of the last ring that I did. Go around my fingers. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Make my ring bigger. 5, 6, 7. Now I'm going to do a small picot. So I'm just going to leave a little bit of space between my last double stitch and this next double stitch. There's my double stitch, push them together, and I'm going to pull that out a little bit. There we go. There's my picot. There it is, picot. So that first stitch after the picot counts as 1, and this time I'm going to do 2 double stitches, so I have 1. I'm going to do 1 more. Now I'm going to do a long picot. So this one I want about twice as long as the last one that I did, so I'm going to stop right there. Finish my double stitch. There we go. I'm going to push them together. That makes the longer picot. You can see I made it bigger by pulling it. Okay, now I'm going to do 2 stitches. I already have one, so I'm going to do the second one. And now I'm going to do another small picot. And 7 more stitches. So we already did the first one because it's at the back end of the picot, or the stitch after the picot. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Let my thread unwind. 5, 6, 7. Okay, close up my ring. Okay, there's my butterfly. I gotta flatten them out a little bit. So we're gonna put the big ones on the top. Pull it, do it this way. There we go. The big ones on the top, the small ones on the bottom. I'm going to cut my thread. I'm just going to tie a knot with the thread from the very beginning and where I finished. I can and eventually can show you how to either sew your ends in or hide your strings, but the strings from this knot that I'm making right now, and it's just a square knot, are going to become the antenna of the butterfly. So I'm going to pull them up. There we go. And on my butterflies, a lot of people will just cut off the threads as long as you want the antenna to be. But I like a little knot on the end, so I'm just going to make a little knot where I want the antenna to end, and then I'll trim off my thread. Whoops. There's one. One antenna. Trim that off above the knot. And now I'll make my other antenna. Maybe. My fingers don't want to work. Okay. And there's my other antenna. There we go. Trim it. If my scissors work. There we go. Oh, a little hairy. Okay, and there's our butterfly. Now, like I said, if you wanted to make this into an earring, you just need to get an earring piece, and you could hook it in right here and have a butterfly earring. I could have a red one and a white one. Okay, so that's how you make a picot. Now I want to show you how to make this flower, and you can use picots to join your rings together. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to use this variegated thread. It's a little fuzzy. It's not quite as nice as the Elizabeth tatting thread, but it's cheap and you get a lot of it, and I like the colors, so I'm going to go ahead and use this. I think this is Aunt Lydia's. You can get it at Walmart. It's probably, I don't know, $3 or $4 for a great big spool. Okay, it does tend to twist a lot when you're working. So this flower is just 5 rings joined together by picots with the 3 picots on the end of in the middle of the ring, a small one, a bigger one, and another small one, just like we did on the butterfly. So we're going to go make our ring. This time I'm going to do 2 double stitches. 1, 2, or 1, 2, and now I'm going to do a picot. And this one doesn't need to be very big, just big enough so that I can join them together. Probably make it a little bit bigger so you can see it better, but okay. So there's my 2 double stitches. 1, 2, and my picot. My picot's not showing up very good right now, so I'll just pull it a little bit. Okay. And then I'm going to do 6 double stitches. 1. Let's see how long this takes me. It's 3:58. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 6 double stitches. Now I'm going to do a small picot like I did for the first one. 1. Where'd my picot go? Flipped over. Okay, there we go. Okay, 1, 2 double stitches. There's 2. Now I'm going to do a long picot. A long picot. That's 1 stitch, 2 stitch. Now I'm going to do another small picot. 6 more stitches, so we've done the first one. Need more space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Another picot. Just a small one. And 2 stitches. There's 1, 2. Okay. Now I'm going to close my ring, and then I'll show it to you. Okay. So, get my picots showing good. So there's the picots at the top. The 2 smaller ones. Here's the first picot that I did, and well, this one's the first one. The first picot that I did, and these are just little ones because I'm just going to use these picots down at the bottom to join my rings together. Okay, so there we are. That's our first petal. I have 4 more to make. It's going to be done exactly, almost exactly the same way. I'm going to start with my ring. I'm going to do 2 double stitches. 1, 2. Now, I am going to join the ring that I'm making right now with this last picot that I did on my first ring. So there's my picot. I have my shuttle going through it. I'm going to pull this part of the thread through that picot. Now you can do it with the point of your shuttle. Sometimes it splits the thread, but you put your shuttle through the picot, pull that thread through the picot. There we go. And then make sure your thread's not twisted. You put your shuttle through that thread you pulled through the picot and tighten it all back up. You should still be able to make your ring bigger or smaller. And then you do your next stitches. So now I'm going to do 6 double stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, now I'm up at the top part where I'm going to do a small picot, 2 stitches, a large picot, 2 stitches, small picot. So let me get some more space in there. Small picot, 1, 2, large picot, 1, 2, need more space. Now I'm going to do another small picot. 1. And now after that small picot, I do 6 double stitches. So we have our first one already. 1, 2. Let me untangle my, unspin my thread. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, now I need another small picot. And 1 more stitch. Okay, there's my next ring. The first, I did 2 stitches and then joined at the last picot of the first ring. I did 6 stitches, small picot, large 2 stitches, large picot, 2 stitches, small picot, 6 stitches, small picot, 2 more stitches. I'm going to close my ring. Okay, we have 2 of the 5 done. Now the next string is going to join on this last picot that I did on the ring that I just finished. So we're going to do, once again, 2 stitches. 1, and I want it as tight in there as I can get it. 2, I'm going to join, so my shuttle is going through the picot, pulling, going over the top of this thread and pulling it through the picot, making a loop, making sure it's not twisted, putting my shuttle through it, tightening it all back up, And now my 6 stitches. 1. When you make a join, don't count that as a stitch. It's just a join. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Small picot. 2 stitches, 1, 2. Large picot. Remember this one I want about that big. There's the first stitch after it. 1, 2. Need more thread. Okay. Small picot again. 1, 2. Oh, 2. Okay. Let's pull that picot a little bit more so it shows up better. Okay. And now I have to do 6 stitches and a picot. So I have my first stitch done. Actually, I did 2 stitches. I have 2 stitches done. So 4 more. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep. Now I'm going to do 1 more picot. This is going to be the picot we're going to join to the next ring we make. Pull it in tight. And then 1 more stitch. And that's the end of that ring. I can close it up. Maybe. There we go. So now I have 3 rings, 2 more to go, and then we'll be done. Well, except for I'm going to put a bead in it. Okay. Another ring. So as you can see, tatting does a lot of repetitive. You can get to know the pattern, so you can just do it without looking at it. It just depends. I think I want to pull that a little bit tighter. There we go. Okay. So I know the pattern for this ring that I'm making. It's 2 double stitches. 1, 2. A join. Make sure it's not twisted. Whoops. Put my shuttle through it, tighten it up. Now I'm going to do 6 double stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Small picot. Whoops. 2 stitches. Oh, need more space. 1, 2. Large picot. Oh, I think I need it larger than that. Okay. This is the first stitch of 2 after that picot. 1, 2. Another small picot. 6 stitches. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, one more picot, and this picot we're going to use to join the next ring to, and one more stitch, and I'm done with this ring. So there we go. I'm going to close up my ring. Almost done. There we go. So now I have one more stitch, one more ring to make, and it's going to go right there, right in the middle. So on this ring, we're going to do 2 stitches and join it to this last picot that I just made. Then I'm going to finish the ring, but instead of making another picot, I'm going to join it to this picot of the first ring. It's a little bit trickier, but not bad. So here we go, our last one, and we'll have another earring ready to go. So 1, get it in nice and close there. Okay, 1, 2. We are going to join these. Make sure it's not twisted. Okay. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Small picot. Give myself some more room. Small picot. Two stitches. 1, 2. Large picot. Whoops. Large picot. Looks about right. 1, 2. Then I'm going to do another small picot. 1. That's the first stitch of my next 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Now, the way I've been doing it, I've been making another picot here, but I want to close my flower up. So instead of doing a picot, I'm going to join it. So this is where I need to join it, and there's my picot. I'm going to fold it over and bring these 2 pieces together. I'm going to go through the picot. Maybe. I'm going to pull that thread through it. Pull it out. Untwist it. Put my shuttle through it. Close it up. Oops. Uh-oh. What did I do? Okay. Then I'm going to make sure I can close my ring. Yep. I'm going to do 2 stitches. One. Come on. that's one. One more. Okay. I'm going to close my ring. Hopefully it will close. There we go. Hold it tight. And there's our flower. Now I'm going to cut my thread. I'm going to tie a knot. And I'm going to put a bead in the middle. Let me tie my knot and I'll show you why. You don't have to. You can leave it with an empty center. Okay. There's my ring. My flower. I tied a knot. But there's this hole in the middle. And I happen to have some pink beads. So I'm just going to put a pink bead in the middle there. Maybe if I can find it. What did I do with it? Oh, there it is. So there's my bead. I have a beading needle, which is just a very thin wire needle. I'm going to put both of these threads through the beading needle end. If I can get it open enough to get the fat thread through. Might need my hook. Oh, come on. There we go. Okay. So I have both those threads through that. I'm going to put my bead on. Pull those threads through. Now, see how the bead is kind of behind it, flops around? I'm going to tie it to either the base of this ring or the base of the pink, this ring. I think I'll do that one. And to do that, I'm just going to take one of these threads off. Well, actually, both of them. I'm going to go through the center hole. I'm just trying to tie that bead on. There are ways you can tat and use beads, and I can show you that later, but this is just so that I don't have to, whoops, where are we going? That one or that one? No, let's do this one. Just so that I don't have to finish off my knots. Okay, so there's the bead in the center. I'm going to tie another knot on this side. And then one last thing I'm going to do to kind of hide the ends in the bead, I'm going to put my beading needle through the bead one more time, maybe, if it cooperates, and pull the threads through just so I can hide them better in the bead. But sometimes it's hard to get that needle through. Oh, there we go. Oh, I should have gone the other way. Should have gone this way. Okay, so I'm going from where the knot is back through the bead. Maybe. Okay, there we go. put those threads through the end of the beading needle. Maybe. Okay.
Are you still doing it?
Yes, I'm almost done.
Okay. I'm just going to try to load the tangents. I forgot about it.
Okay. I'm just going to pull those threads back through the bead, maybe, if they want to go. Getting all tied in a knot. Okay, here we go. Maybe. Worked earlier today. Come on. It's coming. Kind of. Well, maybe I won't pull them through again. I don't have a pair of pliers here. Anyway, so there is my flower. I'm just going to trim my threads. There we go. And then take my earring finding. Let's see, I have pink and orange on top, so I think we'll do pink and orange on the bottom. I mean on top again, kind of keep them similar. So we'll put this up here. New pair of pliers to open that ring. Oh, outside. And I'm just going to put a large picot, pink and orange. Let's see, that one goes that way. I want this one to go this way. Okay, and close that back up. And I have a pair of earrings, which took about a half an hour to make that. So in an hour, I have a nice new pair of earrings. I hope you enjoyed my get tatting. Sorry it was so long today. Maybe next time we'll just do one thing. Next week, I will show you how to do a split ring. A split ring is good because you can do a chain of rings. But anyway, there's my new earrings. I'll have to wear them to the library. Nice and bright. They show up good. I hope you enjoyed Get Tatting. On Wednesday, we are making toilet paper roll animals, so join me on Wednesday at 3 o'clock. It won't be as long as today. Bye. Hope you enjoy tatting.